Hi and welcome to another live game talking stream video, and today's subject is that are we going to have console exclusive titles in the future? There's been lots of rumors that Microsoft and Xbox are in massive trouble, probably because of management and Phil Spencer and whatever has been confirmed. I'm not entirely sure, but it is there's no way of getting around the fact that Xbox sales have been poor and management still haven't turned notifications off. I do keep reminding Anyway, but Xbox isn't doing very well, and there were rumors that they were going to stop console exclusives for the Xbox Series and bring them across to other platforms in a way of trying to build sales. And there were even rumors that Microsoft and the whole Xbox thing might go down the route of Sega, where they just drop out of the hardware market altogether and concentrate on their own game IPs and push them onto other systems. Not entirely sure that is going to be the way it works, but I do think that they are going to try and push the software sales a little bit more. But it has been confirmed that we are going to see another Xbox console this year, but it's not going to be a generation jump. It's just going to be probably the fabled Xbox Series X trash can, discless, whatever you want to call it. So it's just a revised version of the square thing, this time in a round cylinder. Lovely. And it'll be all digital because, as we know, digital is the new thing. 83% of sales from 83% of Xbox sales from last year were digital, so 17%. Digital is the way we're going. But let's get back on to the topic of console exclusives. Xbox long rumoured that they were going to start pushing some of their IPs onto other platforms, and it's been confirmed by Microsoft or Xbox themselves in some kind of news push-out thing, which is where the new new Xbox console news came from. But interestingly, it also said that there was going to be four currently Xbox, Microsoft, Windows, whatever you call it, exclusive games that are then going to make their way onto Sony consoles and Nintendo. One of which is Sea of Thieves, and I'm being looked at by my son, who has just looked this up because I couldn't remember what the other three were. I know there were two big titles and two small titles. One of the big titles is Sea of Thieves. The others are?
The other big title is called Grounded.
Yep, Grounded. And then you've got two smaller games called
Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment.
That's Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment, if you didn't hear that. And, well, it's great. So that means we're going to see something like Sea of Thieves on the Switch, which my son is a big Sea of Thieves fan, and he got quite excited. My other son has got a Switch, so he's going to be looking forward to that. Could we then extend that across at some point? Could we see things like Halo, not Sea of Thieves, Gears of War, Forza? These are probably the main Xbox exclusives that we've had since the original Xbox, and it's the one thing I missed from not having an Xbox myself is the Halo series. So to be able to play those on Switch would be absolutely amazing. Halo on a Switch would nail it. And I know that Sony are planning on doing the same thing. They're going to try and push some of their console exclusives or some of their IPs onto other systems. So does that mean we could see things like Uncharted or Last of Us, or possibly, what's the others? Like, is it Ratchet and Clank? Is that? Yeah, and things, those sort of Sony games, maybe a new Little Big Planet on an Xbox. We can all hope, can't we? But my main thing here is that these games are coming to Switch, or possibly Switch 2. We're not sure whether they're going to go on the current gen of Switch, but Sea of Thieves on the Switch, possible Halo on the Switch, a Ratchet and Clank on the Switch. What an amazing thing. And the one pull-away thing from this video is that Xbox are going to be pushing some of their games onto PlayStation and Nintendo. Sony are going to be pushing some of their PlayStation exclusives onto Xbox and Nintendo. Nintendo are going to be pushing some of their exclusive games onto nobody. This is it. Nintendo are going to come out clear winners for this, especially if the whole Activision Call of Duty thing comes off with Microsoft, and we start seeing Call of Duty games on the Switch platform, which I may or may not have got this right, but I think it's guaranteed for the next 10 years that we will see Call of Duty games on Nintendo hardware. Personally, I think they're going to save that until the Switch 2 and then remaster things like Black Ops 2 onto the Switch 2. But the main thing here is that Nintendo are going to be the only ones that are holding their console exclusives, their franchises, just for themselves. So if you want to play Forza, you could pick up... No, let's scrap Forza. If you want to play Sea of Thieves, then you could buy a PlayStation, or you could buy an Xbox, or you could buy a Switch. But if you want to buy, or you want to play Mario, then you're going to have to buy a Nintendo hardware. And there's quite a few Nintendo IPs. So you've got Mario, of course. You've got Mario Kart, but that falls under the Mario IP. Kirby, Zelda, Pokemon, Metroid. That is a huge selection of games just there that are going to be Nintendo exclusive. There is no way in the world, unless the Switch 2 is an absolute failure and it leaves them no option to duck out of the hardware market, that Nintendo are going to put Mario on an Xbox Series X. So the runaway thing from this is that we are going to start seeing Nintendo being the only console that have console exclusives. Now, whether that means that they're going to get released on day one on every system, I'm not entirely sure. There was a rumor or an ish kind of thing that Sony would release a game on the PlayStation exclusively for a year and then push it onto other systems. Makes a little sense because it means it could push hardware sales, but it also means that once it gets around to Xbox, it's a year-old game that no one really cares about, because games don't have a massive amount of longevity these days. I don't know, there's just lots of info and rumours and this, that and the other that it hasn't really been sort of pieced together yet. I think Microsoft put out this statement or press release because there was so much buzz going around that they wanted to get the right information out there. They're not going under as such. They're not giving up on the hardware side, but they have recognised that hardware sales isn't what it used to be, and it may not be their main staple in the future. And maybe it's a good idea to start pushing some of these console exclusives from Microsoft onto other platforms to try and keep them alive, because if they don't, and the Xbox platform dies altogether, and they insist on keeping Halo, Sea of Thieves on Microsoft systems, so that does include Windows, then they're going to die, and it's going to be no Halo, no Forza, no Gears of War. So to put them onto other systems makes a little sense, but it is a bit sad because if you wanted Halo, you had to buy an Xbox. If you wanted Little Big Planet, you had to buy a PlayStation. And it kind of harks back to the whole Sega Nintendo rivalry of the late 80s, early 90s, where if you were a Mario fan, you had to buy a Super Nintendo, but if you were a Sonic fan, you had to buy a Sega device. And it was, what am I talking? Probably, well, it would have been original Xbox, and possibly the GameCube era, where we start to see Mario on other devices. We've got things like Mario and Sonic at the Olympics. That's not true at all. That is still Nintendo only. I'm talking Sonic. Sonic's the other way around. Once they died off, they had no choice but to bring them on, and it was really weird to see Sonic Generations on a Nintendo 3DS or a PS3 at the time. So I don't know, keeping games as console exclusives is great as long as you've got the hardware sales to back it, like Nintendo do. But if they haven't, it's a smart move from Microsoft to say, right, we may duck out of the hardware market, but we will still be pushing our games. And what choice do they have? Because they've just bought out this company and that company, and they are eating up just so many games companies, and they're like some sort of modern day Pac-Man of the games world. And if they were then to go and to fall out altogether, that's a huge chunk of games that we won't ever see again. So I'm rambling a little bit here, but what do you think about consoles? When I say consoles, with the exclusion of Nintendo, just losing this whole exclusivity thing. Would you want to see Ratchet and Clank on the new Xbox, or I mean, what PlayStation exclusives do we have these days? Because Little Big Planet used to be, but that's sort of dead in the water now.
The Spider-Man games.
Are they exclusive to the PlayStation?
I believe so.
Or at least in terms of consoles they are, aren't they? Because you don't get them on... Well, at least not the new ones anyway. What IPs does Sony hold that... Not many, I don't think. You've got things like the Uncharted and Last of Us,
Yeah.
but we haven't seen a new one of those since PS4. God of War.
I'm pretty sure
God of
it's not
War,
on
that's a Sony. That is a Sony thing. How did I miss God of War? Absolutely fantastic. God of War has been around since I think PlayStation 2. I don't think there was a God of War on the PlayStation. Someone correct me if they're wrong. And then you had versions on the PSP. There's been the new one on the PS5. So God of War is a huge one that I just missed and forgot all about. But God of War on a Switch, that would be amazing. I played God of War on a Vita, so God of War Portable is fantastic. Gone off track. Can't remember where I was before I hit the God of War section.
Exclusives.
So exclusives. I love. Maybe it's because I'm old, and when I was heavily into gaming, I liked Sonic, so therefore I just fell into the Sega. I wasn't really a Nintendo fan until GameCube era. Obviously I appreciate it, and I've gone back. I've got Super Nintendo now, but it was Mario on Nintendo, Sonic on Sega, and bringing forward up into newer generations, it was Little Big Planet on PlayStation and God of War on PlayStation and Forza on Xbox. And for me, it might just seem a little odd that you can buy any console you like and get any, and a game will be released on that. And it does make sense for developers, because you've got this game and you can release it on 4 systems rather than 2 or 1. So it gives the game developers more of a sales scope. But that could, I don't really know. It's a difficult one. I'm not sure how I kind of feel about it. It takes away the reason for you buying a specific console. I mean, I bought an Xbox because I wanted to play Halo. But going by these standards, I could have bought a PlayStation to play. It kind of takes away that there's a reason why there are hardcore Xbox fans and hardcore PlayStation fans. So let me know what you think about whether it's a good thing or a bad thing that the next year or so, or the next future of consoles, is you can play any game on any system with the exclusion of Nintendo, Mario IPs, etc. Yeah, link, like, subscribe, enjoy.